Mika.
Chisato isn't there yet?
She should be here soon, but a licorice is in danger.
Headquarters, please give us permission to fire!
No, I'd like to capture the dealer alive.
Takina! You could have killed Erica!
She's still alive, isn't she? A transfer notice?
Ignoring your orders ruined the operation. There will also be another licorice at your new assignment.
Nice to meet you, partner! Oh, you're one of those transfers. You must have skills.
Don't let her cheeky demeanor fool you. She's top tier.
They may not see eye to eye,
Don't get too reckless. Let's value people's lives.
but together they'll learn there's more to life
Let's go.
than just pulling the trigger.
You got any questions? Too many to count.
Licorice Recoil premieres next Saturday at 1 a.m. Cute girls with guns. Only Toonami on Adult Swim.
Hello everyone, welcome to our podcast Toonami Therapy on January 10th of 2024. I'm Michael.
I'm Tommy.
And we're here to talk about some anime and things we've been watching. Some of which is actually on Toonami this time, because it wasn't just a bunch of reruns. They showed, they did air it. They finally aired Attack on Titan Book 4, Chapter 3, Article 2, Verse 3. Mm-hmm. Or as the actual name is, Attack on Titan, the Final Season, the Final Chapter, Special Part 2. Mm-hmm. Which honestly isn't that much more normal sounding. Mm-hmm. Okay, so I guess I'll just go through the thing, the plot. I don't know. Well, I mean the thing was an hour and a half. If basically they fight Eren, they win, and it turned out that Eren had actually set this up because he was going to have Armin and Mikasa beat him so that everyone would think they were great, and then that would make them, listen to them, and also by getting rid of 80% of the world's population, it would also make it so that it would at least put a temporary stop to the war thing. I don't know, this whole thing made a little more sense when Code Geass did it. Anyway, and then, yeah, that's basically it. That's my, 2-sentence summary of the plot. I'm not going to go into too much more detail. You can always look it up online if you need to. So that was, I guess, the end of Attack on Titan. Really? Honest, probably. Who knows whether we might get some sequel down the line, but probably not.
So what were your thoughts on it?
So some stuff. First, my thoughts are weird. I don't think... Well, the ending is controversial. A lot of people really disliked it. I thought it was just kind of okay. It had some kind of dumb stuff in it. In a lot of ways, it wasn't very satisfying. But at the same time, I also kind of had lost a lot of interest in Attack on Titan ever since they started the final season, all 5 parts of the final season. Mm-hmm. So, I mean, it reached an ending. It had some kind of dumb stuff in it, but I mean, it was. I'm having trouble kind of almost articulating, just because I think, well, it was okay. It was okay. Okay, talk about the finale. The first half or so of it, when it's a bunch of action stuff, that's cool. That's pretty good, and it works a lot better, I think, in anime form than the manga, because the anime, it's animated and it's good animation too. Whereas the manga, as a lot of people point out, it doesn't really have the best art. So having all this action happening when you're looking at it and really in this detailed animation, all this stuff works a lot better. But then once we get done with that and it kind of turns into a bunch of characters talking with each other, it gets a lot weirder and kind of more dumber. More dumber. I can't believe I said that. Yeah, it's... I don't know. I'm kind of stammering onto what exactly I want to say about it because I just... because I'm just speaking in generalities, but I guess that's the stuff.
You want me to give my thoughts on it?
Yeah, you could probably explain it better.
Yeah, put it short, I thought it was terrible. And yeah, I thought as much as I disliked Attack on Titan, like I didn't think I'd be able to hate it more than I did after this finale. But now that we get the final part of it, it's really grating on me because, okay, so we have all this rumbling and people dying and 80% of the world getting killed, but it was all a plan by Eren because he wanted to make Armin and Mikasa look good, which doesn't make any sense at all. This really felt like a bad fanfic. Now, I've written quite a few bad fanfics before, but never one this bad, where it feels like the author got painted into a corner and he didn't have any idea how he was going to end this. So then he's like, wait a minute, I need to try to redeem Eren some way. So I'm going to make it out that Eren really just all he wanted was for Armin and Mikasa to look good. And it was so stupid. And Levi, who was supposed to be the big hero, and the thing is, I hate Levi, but I felt bad for Levi because he never got a proper conclusion to his story. It's just kind of like, okay, he lost his eye, he fought really hard, but that's pretty much about it. And we did get this scene where everyone got to see their loved ones for like a second, which was like straight copied from Evangelion, the end of Evangelion. And then in the end, what happens is that 80% of humanity is dead, but at least Eren, he wanted people to feel good about themselves. And then what happens in the final credits was enough to make me hate the show even more, because what happens is that you see the future, get cities been built, and then cities get destroyed by nuclear bombs, and that's the end. And that is all Attack on Titan was, after all. Yeah, just all around dreadful. I can't think of much good to say about it.
The funny thing about the credits is that I mentioned this to you before. Well, actually, you watched this before. I remember you watched it subbed, and
yeah.
But I remember when I talked to you about it, we discussed it briefly. You didn't seem to like really consider the stuff to like matter too much, but now like you really it like affects it a lot more when you watched it the second time.
No, I think it was that I didn't pay attention during the final credits.
Okay.
So I didn't watch them. I just figured the thing was over, and I must have turned it off or something. But now that I saw the credits the second time, yeah, I didn't pay any attention to it the first time I watched it. I didn't even realize that's what happened. And now that I saw it this time, I'm like, yeah, this just made the whole thing sound completely pointless, and it kind of just hurt the show's cause even more. That's all I thought.
I don't know if I'd say it necessarily makes things pointless, because it is far enough. It is clearly pretty far in the future. Like when you see the stuff they're fighting with, it's clear it's a higher technology than we have right now. And technology level was like early 20th century. So we're talking, so it's at least a century into the future. So, all the this is like after all the main characters, well, the remaining ones have died. So it's just saying, yeah, eventually conflicts restart. I used to think it was really weird. By the way, I want to mention something. That credit stuff we saw. So in the manga, the final chapter came out, in its magazine, and it ended at the part just before the credits. That was the last chapter that was released in the magazine. Then the volume came out, and then they added like some extra stuff, as a bonus, like like to the end of the chapter. And that was all the stuff you saw in the credits. So think about if you had if you had read the manga and you got the ending, and then a few months later you found out, oh, and then there's this extra stuff that kind of changes the way the ending feels. Mm-hmm. Rather than at least the movie just does it right away. Mm-hmm. I don't mind. I mean, I was annoyed by it before. I'm kind of a little more okay with it because it was supposed to show, well, yeah, the stuff did restart, because if you just say, oh, well, peace was restored and everything was great, then it's basically saying, yep, Eren was completely correct to do everything he did. So trying to say, no, like in the long run, all this stuff still happened. I think it was kind of more, I'm not saying I liked the way they did it, but I at least get what it was going for. Mm-hmm. The other weird, now that you've discussed it, I'm thinking, okay, now I know all this stuff I want to say. Let me just think of how to articulate it. Yeah, there was also the part where Armin and Eren are talking. Here's a weird thing. A lot of that conversation was not in the manga chapter. I went back after watching this and reread it because I was like thinking, okay, it's been forever since I looked at this, and I wasn't paying super hard attention by the end. So let's see what it was. And I was surprised they added a bunch of stuff, like that whole thing where like Eren is like saying why he didn't. He just said, well, it's because I'm an idiot. That part that wasn't there. That was added. A bunch of like stuff was added there because it's weird in the manga when like Eren's explaining, oh, why he did all this. He just goes, I don't know. I just felt like I had to see everything flattened. And then there's this brief thing where you see him as this baby after he's been born, and I guess I'm not sure what we were supposed to take from that. It's really weird for him to just say, yeah, I did it, I don't know why. I think they expanded it a lot because they were trying to give more of an explanation, but at the same time, I'm not sure how much better it is when Eren just say, yeah, I did it all because I'm an idiot.
Yeah, I thought that summed up the show pretty well. I'm an idiot. I mean, that was a pretty appropriate way to describe everything. Yeah, I don't know. I guess hearing what you said about the final scene kind of making Eren's ideas kind of not come true. Well, that's one way to at least make it a little more palatable, but it's palatable. I'm sorry. But yeah, it just wasn't very good. And but I never thought Attack on Titan was good, really, I mean, there were some parts of season 2, some parts of season 3, maybe even some parts of season 1, but I never really was an Attack on Titan fan, so it's not like it really affected my opinion all that much.
I liked some. What you described are the parts I liked also. I liked the first and second season. Especially, I did rewatch it. I liked the first season more the second time around. And I was still good with the second season, even if I do think, yeah, it was a little weaker towards the end. Season 3, the first half, all the politics I wasn't huge on. The second half, I think, is some of the best anime I've ever watched in my life. And if Attack on Titan, the whole series was that good, it would be my number one favorite anime, no contest. The problem is, that's not the whole series. That's half of one season, as good as it is. So, yeah. The other thing I've been wanting to mention, because this seems a little weird. So the ending part. So, okay. So we see, and we don't know all the specifics about what caused it, but we know that we see that the city on Paradis, sometime in the future, it like grows and like it's got all these futuristic buildings, and then there's some kind of war and it's destroyed, and then even farther into the future we see this random kid who like goes across the tree that was buried near where Eren died, and it looks just like that tree that Ymir not like the Ymir, like the one like the one who died. Actually no, the other Ymir died. Why the heck did the series give two characters the name Ymir? The one who like created the Titans, that Ymir, the one where she found the tree and got the powers of the Titans and all that stuff. So it seemed to say, oh, it's going to start again. But the problem is, as far as we know, they're at like a super technology level now. Or at least the people who launched the attack are technically, I suppose it could have been such a big war. The other side got destroyed also, but we don't know. As far as we know, they're at like super tech level. The Titans don't matter at this point anymore. Like the rumbling wouldn't be an existential threat to our world in the present time because we've got the bombs and stuff to destroy all the Titans. And if in this world, presumably, technology is even better. So it's like, oh man, the Titans are back. Oh no, never mind. They're not a threat anymore. That part was just kind of, so that part I always thought was a little weird. So yeah, one thing I do want to say, because we've been so critical, the dub was really good. Everyone gave a pretty good performance, here. We've kind of talked about how a bunch of the conversation between Armin and Eren was like kind of goofy, but I mean the voice actors, they did their best with those lines.
Yeah. Yeah, I don't have any problem with the voice acting.
Yeah, I think Attack on Titan does have a very good dub. And you know that because even a bunch of the people who don't really like dubs much will say, yeah, it was pretty good. So yeah, it's on the whole, I say it's just okay. I mean, I don't like the ending, but at the same time, I don't really dislike it as much as some other people do. I just think, well, that was the sequence of stuff that happened. And I kind of think, wow, this was kind of done. Some parts of this, I was thinking, wow, this made more sense when Code Geass did it. I can't go into any more details about that because that would be a spoiler, but something very similar to part of this happens in Code Geass, and it made more sense there. The funny thing is, I remember a lot of people, when that series concluded, were saying, oh yeah, well, there were a lot of dumb stuff that happened in that second season, but the ending was pretty good and managed to make up for it. Or at least that's what I remember people saying. Maybe people have changed their mind on that. But let's see. Is there anything else I want to say about it? Because this is kind of going to feel like the last hurrah for Attack on Titan. I feel like I need to say some stuff. There were also some lines that actually were pretty... some bits that were actually surprisingly funny. Like almost the kind of joke that we would make about it. Like when someone tells Reiner, like, about the Armor Titan, despite its name, your Titan sure gets broken a lot. That was good. I like the part where everyone, wakes up and they remember conversations that Eren had with them previously, but had taken their memories away back then. And Peak just says, I didn't get a conversation with him. That was kind of funny. Yeah, there are some funny bits here. On the whole, though, don't think, to me, it ruins the series, but again, I kind of feel the series kind of lost its way after season 3. I know some people continued really liking it, but yeah, I was just like, well, that was the ending. At least it wasn't as crazy as the ending I've heard for this one series called Platinum End, where this, okay, screw it, I want to say it because this is so crazy. So basically this was this story about these people, and they're in this sort of competition where like the winner ends up becoming God. Okay, so long story short, one of them gets it, and then they're God, but then they just decide to kill themselves, which makes all the human beings disappear. Earth becomes a barren wasteland, and it turns out that God and therefore humans were actually created by aliens who were trying to find a way to kill themselves. The end. There, now I saved you on the trouble of having to watch this series. I have heard nothing but bad things about that series. It's such a bizarre ending. I know that technically it's a spoiler, but I just want to mention it so that people know that that's the ending going in, so you don't waste a bunch of time watching it.
What's this called again?
It was called Platinum End. It was actually by the guy who wrote Death Note, and a lot of people are saying, yeah, he lost whatever he had with Death Note. So yeah, I guess I was just throwing that out. Of course, now some people might go and check it out, but I just want to say, look, just know that that's the ending you're going to get. Everyone dies, and then aliens. Okay, so, and the weirdest thing is I looked at the manga, literally I didn't read the whole thing, but I read a bit of it towards the end, and I'm like, wow, the previous chapter, that was a perfectly fine ending. Could have just ended there, but then you had an extra chapter just to kill everyone off. Okay, so, you can say Attack on Titan had a better ending than that. I guess that's the equivalent of still a better love story than Twilight. All right. That has been a long conversation about Attack on Titan's ending. Is there any final thoughts we want to make? I guess I'd say, in regards to Attack on Titan, I don't know. The question is, would I recommend it? And I'm just uncertain on that, because I really loved some parts of it. But then I didn't like a bunch of it. The ending was kind of underwhelming to me. I kind of feel like the author did kind of write himself into a corner, in that the way he just set stuff up is like, okay, so the rest of the world wants to destroy Paradis, and Paradis kind of has to destroy the rest of the world to save itself. So you kind of set up a no-win scenario there that just kind of didn't feel like it was the same series that we had at the start. There you go. That's the problem with Attack on Titan. It became too much of a different series than what we had originally. That's my biggest issue with it. So I don't know. I thought the first 3 seasons were mostly worth watching. I just don't know if I can say, yeah, watch it for those seasons, because I can't just say, well, then just stop watching it and make up your own ending. I mean, I guess I can say that, but at the same time, I don't know how much someone who goes through all that would want to just stop there. So it was a show with some pretty high highs and some pretty low lows. There you go.
Yeah, I think you can sum it up most in one word: overrated. That's what I think. So
I'm just suddenly curious. I should have looked this up before. What did this end up getting like rated on? Let me list. Okay. Okay, so here's the thing. It looks like Attack on Titan final season, the final chapters, they didn't separate it into 2 separate things. They just put it into one. And it's pretty highly rated at 8.93, but the 18th highest rated series on the site. But I'm which surprises me considering how many people I saw say they didn't like the ending. But I'm going to guess a bunch of that probably comes from some people liking the first half of it and rating it there, and then that not being as affected by the later ones. Like I remember you said you really liked the first half.
I did.
The first part, not the first half of this thing specifically. You know how this was split into 2 parts?
Oh yeah. The first half was pretty good. It had a lot of good action and stuff, but and a great way for Hanji to go out. I mean, I thought it did a lot of things right, and then this second part was pretty bad. So yeah.
Yeah, I wonder how much there's that. But some people did like the ending. I wasn't huge on it. I guess it's just in the end subjective. And that's it. One final thing to make, I'll at least say this. Attack on Titan did actually reach an ending. Like, that, which is so much more than so many other anime you can say that are based on things. It did reach like a conclusion, and it got all the way through there. So at least if you want to watch it, the whole thing's in anime. You don't have, and there's no like, hey, go read the manga ending, or go read the light novel ending, or worst of all, go read the light novel or manga, which doesn't actually have an English translation. So I sure hope you know Japanese if you want to know the conclusion. Okay. And that's it for Attack on Titan. For now, the Attack on Titan, the end, really this time, probably. Honestly, if they want to like milk this more, they don't have to make a sequel. They can just adapt Attack on Titan Before the Fall, this prequel manga that went on for a while. I'm surprised they never adapted that into a series already. Okay. All right, let's move on. So we have the stuff we watched that wasn't on Toonami. So right. We've gotten Spy Family episode 36. So this one is one of those split episodes. So first half is this one about how Becky has this big crush on Lloyd and wants to somehow get with him. And she's like 6, so it's just a kid's crush, but it's just some wacky stuff with there. Then the second one is I guess they wanted to pair it up with another person who has this major crush on Lloyd. So it's about Nightfall, who has a major crush on Lloyd. Remember which honestly doesn't really feel like it told us much that we didn't already know. Yeah, those were the episodes. I thought the first half, the one with Becky, was pretty funny, and I thought the second half with Nightfall was mostly kind of boring.
Yeah, I noticed that you can't have 2 characters who are exactly the same, and you can't have them in the same episode doing the exact same thing as each other. I really enjoyed that whole Becky thing, and then you're hitting that hammer on that carnival game, and then making Becky realize that she's never going to beat yours. She's going to try to become an apprentice of yours, so maybe she can, eventually win the love of Lloyd / Twilight / whatever his real name is. But then you get the second episode, and it's like, okay, we're just doing the same thing that we just did. We're just going to do it with a different character. And while there was that good scene about the tennis thing, it's that kind of funny joke there. Aside from that, it really felt like, I don't know, like I'm not like they ran out of ideas, but it was just like, why did we have 2 characters doing the exact same thing in the exact same episode. That was weird, but overall, I did like it. So I did like it. Just want to make that clear, and yeah, it was pretty good.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, there were a lot of funny bits with Becky. I like the part where Anya has the weird fantasy about Becky being her mother. That was good. I also just like the part where where she's like fawning over Lloyd, and then the like the sort of maid person just like thinks, Becky, you shouldn't commit adultery. And it's just like that's so. It just takes it so seriously. So yeah, it was first half funny, second half not so funny. I've kind of I feel like I'm trying to think, like, it seems like Nightfall is kind of, I just thinking, what episodes was she in that were like really good ones? Because it seems like she just brings down the episodes she's in. Because she wasn't that great here. She wasn't very in her first like a big thing, like the tennis thing. That was kind of boring until the ending part where she went up against Yor. That was really funny, but the rest of it was mostly kind of boring. And I'm just thinking, she doesn't seem like she really. Maybe there was like a bit with her that was actually really funny, but for the most part, I think, it doesn't seem like she really brings much to the show. I mean, Yuri can be kind of annoying, but he at least has been in some pretty funny bits, like the one where he tries to tutor Anya, which was really funny.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. All right. So then after that we have Shangri-La Frontier episode 7. So, Sunraku manages to get into the city away from, the PKers and gets to safety and such. Ray and there's a kind of funny bit where he, like, while doing so, briefly says something to Ray, and then she goes like completely, and then she just, because he said like 2 sentences to her, she's completely love struck. Then he ends up going through some sort of boss gauntlet thing and manages to go well through them, and we see a bit of some of those, but then a bunch of it we just kind of hear him talk about how he beat them. There wasn't really a lot that happened in the episode, but I thought there were a lot of really funny jokes in this one.
Yeah, I thought it was pretty humorous, and I thought it. I kind of like the idea. It kind of, some of that part reminded me of, there's this one quest in Super Smash Bros. Melee where you have to like stay alive for like 8 seconds against some really hard to beat opponents, and that's kind of what that reminded me of. I don't know though. It felt like, it says, okay, this opponent is level 65, yet he's able to beat it, and it's like, well, that kind of makes me not think that level 65 means anything. Like it would be one thing if he was like beating something at level 6, but it's the level 65, he can already beat that. Well, then what do these levels really mean? Like the next time I see a highly rated enemy, I'm gonna not really fear it all that much because he was able to cruise right through it. I don't know. That's kind of the way I felt about it, but I thought it was a pretty entertaining episode.
Yeah, I do. Just the fact that like Ray is so completely overcome with awe that she was actually able to talk to Sunraku, and all he like said was like 1 or 2 sentences, just something like, "Thanks for getting me like through, I can't remember exactly what he says, but it's like he's not barely even talking to her, and then she's all like, "Yay, he talked to me," and like the fighting stuff was funny also. In regards to the level, obviously that is a tricky thing, although it did continually specify that it did take him a bunch of tries to beat all of them. So, and at least wasn't him doing it first shot. But yeah, this was the comedy managed to make it work pretty well. So yeah, I thought it was fun. Okay.
Yeah.
All right. So then after that, we have my teen romantic comedy SNAFU episode. What episode were we on? Was this 16 or 17? Trying to this was 17, right? Okay. All right. So what happens in this episode is, I can remember like the first half of it, and then like what happens later is like a blank to me, and I'm suddenly thinking, did I do that thing where I watch part of an episode and mean to come back to it and then forget to finish?
Well, I can tell you that it wasn't very memorable, so I think I can understand why you would not remember it very well, because it basically the first half of the episode, it's like this whole thing where they want to help this girl not win a vote for student council, which makes absolutely no sense. Let's be honest. Makes no sense at all that she wants to lose an election, but she can't just quit. It was really convoluted. Didn't make any sense. And then the second half of the episode is pretty much Hachi kind of like just being really distant with everyone, and everyone being angry with him, and him like not wanting to talk to anyone. And it just came across as a really depressing episode, in my opinion. And I didn't like it all that much.
Okay. All right, so this was I got it. This is episode 16. Well, yeah, I can totally remember the beginning stuff. They were the person got forcibly volunteered into the election, but doesn't want to win it. But there's no one else running, so they were trying to figure out how to figure out all of this stuff. And then I'm just like, and then I can't remember what happened after that, other than there being some arguing. So either I forgot about it because it wasn't memorable, or I just straight up forgot to watch the second half, which has happened to me before, where I don't have time to watch a full episode. So I'll watch part of it now, and then I'll watch the rest of it later, and then I forget. So that might be if that's the case, I'm going to watch the second half just to make sure of that. But so yes, sorry if this is if that's what happened, because I'm just like, I'm thinking I can't even remember the second half of this episode for some reason. Okay, sorry I did that so poorly. All right, so that brings us then to the non-anime stuff. Let's talk One Piece live action. Like, what's like the right way to refer to it? You just say live action One Piece, Netflix One Piece, 2023 One Piece. Whatever it is, we're on episode 2. They get captured by Buggy the Clown, who wants the map that they have, but Luffy's manages to protect it. Ultimately, they're all able to work together to beat him, because he has a chop fruit which lets him basically split his body into a bunch of parts. So they just take the different parts of the body and lock them in trunks to beat him. And after that, they're able to leave, and they've got with the maps and everything, and yeah, that was basically the overall point of the episode. Oh, and we got a bit more of Luffy's flashback, where we find out, oh, Shanks lost an arm saving Luffy in the past. Well, Luffy, be glad. The worst thing that happened to you in your flashback is your mentor lost an arm. Compared to some of the stuff for the other characters, that's nothing. Actually, now that I think about it, no, there was another character who's of the main characters whose flashback involved their like important sort of mentor character losing a limb. Wow. We'll get to that when that happens. I thought this was again a pretty good episode. There's a lot of good stuff here. I liked what got me a laugh out of me a bunch of times was the thing, because Buggy is trying to present the whole thing as some sort of show to like this audience he's kind of forcing to watch it, and he's having like his minions like hold up these signs to say laugh and to make the audience laugh, and that, well, it made me laugh because the joke's really good. That he's forcing them to do that.
Was that in the original?
I don't think that. No, that wasn't the case there. In the original, I don't think he. What happened was he took over the town, and everyone, kind of had to evacuate and left the town. Whereas in this one, he actually took all of them captive and had that. So things did. So once again, the general plot beats are the same as in your source material, but a bunch of the specifics are changed up. Like they did have the same in the original. It's the same thing. They go up against Buggy. They have to work together to fight him. This bit was actually Nami's original introduction in the manga, but in this he was introduced a bit earlier, and all of that sort of stuff. So yeah, again, what I said, same general beats, specifics different. But yeah, Buggy, I liked him a lot. He was very entertaining.
Yeah, I really enjoyed this. I wish I'd seen the original so I would know more about this stuff, but yeah, I think they portrayed all three of the main characters very well and kind of got them right. I'm still not sure about this Nami kind of being sort of evil thing. I don't understand that, but maybe that will make sense the longer we go. Because, I think I have the DVD for the original One Piece, or I could even watch it on Crunchyroll, but I'm too lazy to do that. But yeah, it was very good. I enjoyed it.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it continues to impress me. It's a good series. It's hard for me to say because I do know the series. Like I said, it's been a very long time since I watched this stuff in the anime. A very long time. So I only have very vague memories. But I still feel like if someone didn't know anything at all about One Piece, I think things are explained well enough that these are completely comprehensible even to a complete newcomer. There's a few things that skipped over, like it didn't include the flashback that explained why Buggy was so annoyed with Shanks, but I think it makes some sense because it would have taken a bit of time to explain it, and it's not really that important. Basically, in case you're wondering, the crew they were on ended up finding a devil fruit, and Buggy wanted to sell it to make a ton of money. So he said he'd volunteer to eat it, which the other people weren't taking it because, while you get some great powers, it makes it so that you can't swim. So his plan was that he would then eat a fake devil fruit and then he'd pocket the original one and you could sell it. But what happens he ends up when Shanks is talking to him later, Buggy has to like shove it into his mouth to prevent Shanks from seeing it, and then accidentally swallows it. So then he loses. So while he does get some cool abilities out of it, it means that he can't swim, which he wanted to keep, and he's not going to be, and he wouldn't be able to sell it for all the money, which is why he's so angry at Shanks all this time later. But I think it was a smart decision to leave that out, because you have to go through a bunch to show that and explain it, and you're like, it's not really that important.
Yeah.
Yeah, so I'm interested in seeing what's next, because I forgot, like I said, I've forgotten a bunch. I'm thinking, what was even the order of things? Did Usopp come next, or was it Sanji? I think it was Usopp, but we'll see. So, yeah, nothing else to really say about it, but solid episode, and we've got some more of them. Excited to see more.
Yeah, that's the big question, isn't it? What they're going to do with Sanji, because, well, I'm not sure American TV is ready for Sanji. So that'll be interesting to see how they adapt his whole personality into the thing. He's obviously not going to be the same, but
I heard they toned him down a bit, but that's just what I've heard. I don't know the specifics, and I'm thinking, yeah, that's honestly, I kind of wish they had in the original series, especially later on. I'm thinking, okay, like when the plot point is that Sanji gets such a big nosebleed by seeing a bunch of cute girls that he loses a bunch of blood. And then it becomes an emergency because they run out of blood and can't give it to him. And they're having trouble with all the fish people because they won't give them to humans. I'm thinking, okay, that's like the dumbest way to set up that whole conflict. So if we're not having that sort of thing, I think that's good. But we'll see. All right, I guess we can give our rankings for the 3 shows we watched. The 3 anime. Well, I mean, I don't know. Should we be? I'd say we could count Attack on Titan's ending, but I kind of get the feeling neither of us would rank it above the other 3 cartoons anime we watched.
I'm including Attack on Titan, and I'm not ranking it in the top 3. So it is included. It just didn't make the top 3. So third place will be SNAFU, because I thought that Hachi was just a little too depressing this episode. Plus, I saw all these people saying, okay, I don't know the show, but apparently they don't like Yui for some reason, which makes me worried. I shouldn't have looked at that. All I did was put her name into Google, like Yui and SNAFU, and I was just like, and then I found all these people who don't like her, so I'm like, what is up with that? So that's something to be concerned about coming up. Second place, Shangri-La Frontier. I thought a lot of things were pretty humorous in this episode. And while I didn't really like the second half that much, I still rank Spy Family number 1 this week.
Okay. Well, for me, it would be SNAFU in third place, because even if I can't remember the second part, the part of the episode, the part I did watch I do remember, wasn't as good as Spy Family or Shangri-La Frontier. Then I'll put Spy Family in second place, and then Shangri-La Frontier in first, because the thing is, Shangri-La Frontier was pretty funny the whole way through, whereas Spy Family was only good for about half of it. So that's my orders there. Okay, and that's it for this episode. Coming up next week, we will... let's see, Demon Slayer's back. We're going to have 2 episodes, 1 hour of it. Then we'll have Dr. Stone in One Piece. Dr. Stone, I think, has only 4 episodes left. Though the week after that, that's when they have Licorice Recoil. That they'll premiere that on Toonami, we'll watch it because we might as well. I don't know if we'll have much to talk about it because we did watch it already on our own off Toonami, but we'll see how that goes. I wonder what the Dr. Stone replacement is because I don't think they've announced anything, but that won't be a thing for a few weeks still, I think.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
All right, and I guess that's it for our podcast. We sure talked a lot about Attack on Titan, but it's probably the last we'll be able to talk about it for a while, or ever maybe. That, like I said, I don't know how much more there will be. Maybe if they do bring out Attack on Titan before the fall as an anime, maybe that will do it. But we'll see. All right, that is it for this episode of the podcast. And we'll be back again next week for other stuff. And without further ado, we have nothing else to say, so we'll see you next week.
Bye.
When life gets to be a little too much, it's best to just forget everything and watch cartoons. That's why we're here. And for the new year, we are bringing you some old friends.
Mr. Weasel!
Yes.
Aha! Gotcha!
Checkered Past. Weekdays starting at 5. Only on Adult Swim.